Students, this is number 8 characteristics that living things have a definite lifespan. Lifespan means the time period for which a living thing organism remain alive is called the lifespan, and lifespan is different for different organisms, such as dog has 16 to 18 years lifespan, rat has 2 to 3 years lifespan. It means dogs remains alive for 16 to 18 years. So after completion of life cycle, living things die, and after the death of living beings, the parts of living things, the body parts of living things are called as dead things. So dead things are the remains of living things. Remains, why we call it remains? Because they are obtained from their body parts after their death. So dead things are the remains of living things. Like example, furniture like table and chair are made up of wood, and wood was once the part of a tree, and now this is the dead part of the plant because it was obtained from the plant that was dead. So this is a part of the plant. This is a part of dead part of plant, so we call it dead things. Next characteristics is living thing reproduce. Reproduce means to give birth to young ones of their own kind. Noun is reproduce. So all living things give birth to young ones by different methods. So all living things reproduce. So how do all living things reproduce? Let us understand. This is reproduction in animals. Cows reproduce, or cows give birth to young ones by giving birth to calves. The young ones of cows called as calves. Next is human being. Human being reproduce by giving birth to babies. The young ones of human beings called as babies. Next is birds, frogs, snakes, mosquitoes. They reproduce by through the eggs. Means they give eggs, and from eggs by the process of hatching new ones are come out. Eggs. So birds, frogs, snake, mosquito gives eggs, and through this egg by the hatching process new ones are comes out. So hatch from eggs. It means we call that birds, frogs and snakes hatch or come out from the eggs and converts into their adult shape, like adult bird, adult frog, adult snake and adult mosquitoes. Next is reproduction in plant. That how do plants reproduce and how they give birth to young ones. So here are 2 or 3 methods that is utilized by plants to give birth to young ones or to young plants. First is plants usually reproduce through seeds, and seeds are found in a fruit, and if we remove these seeds from food and are allowed to buried in the soil, so after some days or after a few months there are plants are appeared. It means plants are formed from the seeds. So seeds can able to give birth of new plant. So plants usually reproduce through seeds or from other parts of the plant like stem and leaves, and plants also give births by their stem and leaves. Plants also give birth to young plants by their stem and leaves. Some plants, if we use some plants stems part and this stem part allowed to grow separately into soil, then this stem part of this plant can grow into whole plant. So this is that how does plant reproduce by their stem, and how does plant reproduce by their leaves. Leaves such as bryophyllum plant reproduce through leaves. This is bryophyllum leaves, and here birds are appeared in their leaves, and if we remove this bird and are allowed to buried in the soil, then from this bird bryophyllum plants can be grow. So this is bryophyllum plant. Next characteristics is living thing respond to stimuli. And respond means the action of living things in the action of living things to their outer environment if their outer environment uh, having any change. So this is response. And what is stimuli? Stimuli is the plural word, and stimulus is a singular word. So stimulus is any change in the surroundings of an organism to which it responds. Like if there are very hot season appears, then we do then we use cooler and AC in our homes to get cool in the weathering condition or in the hot condition of the weather. So it is our response that we show to the outer environment that has changed in a very hot condition. So what is the stimulus in this case? The rising the temperature in outer atmosphere is stimulus, and the response to this stimulus of us to start the AC and cooler in our home is the response to this stimulus. So stimulus is any change in the surrounding of an organisms to which it responds. All living things responds to stimuli like temperature, touch, light, sound and smell by moving towards it or away from it. Such as example of respond to stimuli is Mimosa pudica is a plant, and that plant is also known as touch me not plant because it is highly sensitive towards the touch. If we touch this plant, then it folds its leaves. So here touching this plant is a stimulus to this plants, and folding the leaves by this plant Mimosa pudica after we touch these plants is a response that it show towards the stimulus. So it quickly fold its leaves when we touch the leaves of this plant. So what in this case, what is the stimulus and what is the response? So touching the leaves of this plant is a stimulus. Touching the leaves of this plant is a stimulus because if we touch the leaves of this plant, this change the environment of this plant, and so this is stimulus, and quickly fold its leaves, and folding and the leaves are folded by this plants is a response that it show towards the stimulus. So this is response and stimulus or stimuli. Next is sensitivity. Till now you have understood that how all living things show response to their stimuli that we meet. So the ability of responding to the change that occurs in their surroundings is called sensitivity. If we go into very cold climate, then we respond to cold climate, and then we wear the clothes according to that temperature, according to that cold temperature. So this is our sensitivity, that we have ability to respond the change that we feel in our atmosphere or in our surroundings. So what is sensitivity? The ability of living things to respond to any external change is called sensitivity. And our next topic is virus. Virus is a connecting link between living and non-living thing. Why is it called as connective link between living and non-living things? Because when there is two conditions, when virus is present outside the body of living thing and when virus is present inside the living things. All life process such as reproduction, growth, it show only when it present inside the body of living organism, and if it present outside the body of living organism or in outer environment, then it and that in that condition it doesn't show any life process that are shown by living things. And if virus are light on viruses are light on outside the body, it is considered as non-living thing, because it does not show any life process like living things. So viruses are just like any other non-living things outside the body of a living things. But when this virus are present inside the body, they can grow and multiply only inside the living things. If this virus inside the body, then it can grow and multiply. It can increase its number. Multiply means it can increase its number, and it can grow and it can increase its size inside the living beings. So virus is a connective link between living and non-living things. Students, till now we have discussed about the 10 characteristics of living things, and this is a table showing the difference between living and non-living. Till now we have discussed about the characteristics of living things such as cells, movements of living things, food taken by living things, respiration, excretion, growth, lifespan, reproduction, and response to stimuli. And living things, all living things show these all characteristics, but non-living things do not show these characteristics. So these are written in this table, such as cells. Living things are made up of cells. Non-living things are not made up of cells. Movement. Living things can move on their own. Non-living things cannot move on their own. So read this table from your book. Thank you. Have a nice day.